Hello, this is the start of session 5.6 about Lessons Learned Framework, a tool to capture and share valuable knowledge gained within the trial. You should use this tool at the end of the evaluation phase to share the insights you gained. You should also use it before to learn from others. This session is targeted at trial organizers, but also advised for practitioners and technicians. You will learn about what we mean with lessons learned, the structure of the framework, and how to apply the lessons learned framework.
The Lessons Learned Library, or in short, L3, is a website on which lessons learned from previous events can be entered and on which these lessons can be consulted. This library not only contains lessons from trials, but also from exercises and real incidents, crises, or disasters. The Lessons Learned Library is thus used as a source of inspiration during the preparation phase, and primarily when going through the iterative six-step approach. Adding your own lessons learned in this online library is an activity to be done during the final dissemination step in the evaluation phase. The main objective of the Lessons Learned Library is to collect and share lessons learned from crisis management events. The trial owner is the main user of this L3 website. Other trial stakeholders are of course also more than welcome to visit the website. In this session, we will first give you an introduction to the principles on which the L3 is based. This introduction is followed by a tutorial about how to visit the website to consult lessons drawn from previous events. The second tutorial is aimed at explaining how to add the lessons learned from your own trial or other event. Let's first have a look at the background, scope, and functionalities of the Lessons Learned Library. The L3 is fully aimed at the domain of crisis management and disaster risk reduction. The two key verbs here are to collect and to share. The first objective is to share experiences with others, such that they can take advantage of your lessons and experiences. The L3 was developed to be a quick and easy way of entering information and key lessons in a well-organized manner. The L3 is an online open database such that any crisis management professional can take a look at the events and their lessons. With lessons learned, we mean the structured production and application of experience-based knowledge. Or, in other words, the things we have learned from previous events, formulated in a structured manner. These lessons are aimed at developing and improving doctrines, organizations, training, materials, leadership, personnel, facilities, and so on. This is all to achieve more efficient and effective operations. The L3 supports organizations in editing, consulting, and sharing lessons within the domain of crisis management, both within and across organizations, sectors, and countries, and with the ultimate goal to improve crisis management by learning from each other's experiences. Lessons collected in the L3 stem from crisis management-related events such as incidents or near incidents, crisis situations, exercises, or trials. Lessons are linked to a certain type of event, for instance, an exercise, or they are linked to incidents like forest fires or bomb attacks. Or lessons refer to specific crisis management functions, such as evacuation or information sharing. The L3 is structured in three levels. On top, there are the events, for example, a trial, an exercise, or an incident. For each event, one or more lessons are provided. These lessons are linked to certain crisis management functions. Each event contains a short description of the event and some general data, such as date and location where it took place. It also contains more detailed information on the incident scenario and crisis management operations. It contains the initial incident and its cascading effects, the potential impact, a map of the situation, organizations involved, and an overview of critical crisis management functions that had to be executed. And then, of course, the key lessons that have been learned from this event. See these key lessons as the top 5 of most important lessons from that event. Each lesson contains a description of the perceived positive or negative experiences and their effectiveness on one or more crisis management functions. Also, potential solutions to improve the concerned crisis management functions are described. These solutions are based on experiences during the event, including a description of the expected performance improvement and impact reduction of this suggested solution. Let's now have a look at how these concepts work out on the L3 website. The Lessons Learned library can be found at l3crisis.eu. It is possible to visit this website as a visitor, so without being logged in, and read the lessons learned. When you use the website as a visitor, you can browse through the existing events. Lessons learned are stored under the event at which they were identified. When you click on the I button, an explanation and rationale behind the L3 appears. The question mark button leads to a concise manual. In the Home menu, the existing events can be easily filtered, for example by country, event type, incident, or crisis management function. This allows you to easily find the topics that are of interest, or that address an identified need or gap. When you select an event, you are presented with its main incident and geographic characteristics, the organizations that were involved, and, most importantly, the lessons that were identified. In addition, publications and multimedia sources could be added. Naturally, also the authors of this event description are clearly visible at the top. Visitors of this website can only browse through the existing events. If you want to add lessons learned yourself, you first need to log in with your own L3 account. You can log in using your existing account, or you can register yourself as a new user. There are 3 types of accounts: regular users, editors, and administrators. Regular users can create their own events and edit the events they created. Editors have the option to edit all events, and administrators can also delete events or change the access rights of other accounts. Once logged in with your account, you can create new events. When doing so, you are requested to fill out a form, guiding you in a structured way through all the steps to describe the event and the lessons that were learned. First, you start by editing the main event characteristics, such as its name, the event type, location, and date. Next, you move on to describe the main incident characteristics, like the initial and cascading incidents, the affected societal sectors, and the societal impact. You continue providing context to the geographic dimension, which countries, international institutions, and organizations were involved, and what is the location on the map. By specifying the critical crisis management functions, you can provide a clear context to the lessons in the next section. More than one lesson can be created, and they reference to one or more of the previously selected critical crisis management functions. You briefly describe the actual effectiveness of the specific crisis management function as observed during the event. Next, you continue with the main element. You describe how the observed issue can be solved, or in other words, what you have learned, and you select for each of the 5 damage categories what level of reduction you expect. Do not forget to add a textual explanation of the expected impact reductions and why you foresee these levels of reduction. The event description is concluded by adding external publications, multimedia resources, and finally, its editors. By adding the email of colleagues in the box at the bottom left, they also receive permission to edit the event you just created. When you are done, you can inspect the newly created event, and when you are happy with it, you can publish the event. Thereby, you share the lessons you have learned with your fellow crisis management practitioners. The Lessons Learned library is an online repository of lessons drawn from previous events, such as trial, but also of exercises and real crises. It is used in the TGM preparation phase as a source of inspiration, best practices, and to avoid pitfalls. In the final dissemination and documentation step, you use it to share with others the lessons you have learned during your trial, exercise, or other event, such that others can uptake these lessons in future events.